Over 90% of Hugos are incorrectly gearing their Hugo. This video was long overdue. So part one, we're going to discuss gearing. This no bullshit. I double checked, triple checked it in game, made sure the calculator was on the dot. Part two, we're going to talk about the pool value ranking for Hugo. If you like the video, make sure you guys hit the subscribe and smash that like. I'm going to talk about what other guides missed. There are great sites out there for ZZZ and people use them. And even though they go to these sites, general audience have a hard time understanding. I know this because people visit these very popular sites and they still come to my channel with the same questions. So they get that something is, let's say, 20% better, but does that like change how you gear the character, which we're gonna talk about very soon, as well as does it change the gameplay, etc. And that's what we do in this channel. We go into detail for every agent. So as you guys can see from my Hugo video, there are a lot more female viewers. Now this may seem useless on paper, but we'll talk about this later. I have kind of like a theory about this. So everything that you're seeing today is for M0R1 Hugo. All the characters are going to be M0R1. And if someone's like, well, what if I don't have this? Or what if I have this? Well, you got to talk to me in person because that's too many variables to cover. On my top right, you'll see my Hugo's current combat stats. This was with Astra, pretty average discs. Nothing too crazy. 2-piece Pollard, 4-piece Woodpecker. We're going to talk about Hormone Punk as well. Don't worry, we're going to get there. So for today's calculations, in-game as well as with the calculator, I did the chain plus chain attack into totalize with the ult. And as you can see with the in-game API, you see that ice damage bonus, 65%. That is way too high. Over 90% of Hugos are incorrectly gearing their Hugo. I think this is the highest percentage out of all the agents that have released. Ice damage bonus for slot 5 is not useless. It is the best option, but hear me out. It is the best option for his worst performing meta team right now. And which meta teams today can make Hugo totalize the hardest? I know the camera is blocking some of the text, but it's not important. So this is M0R1 Hugo, M0R1 Astra, M0R1 Trigger, tested in-game as well as tested in Excel sheet calculations. And you can see there is the damage 2-piece, attack 2-piece, crit damage 2-piece. So we have this 5 pen on the left and this 5 attack percentage and damage percentage, which means ice damage percentage. By the way, this is with the current Deadly Assault buff, the buff that is catered towards Hugo in this rotation. I know there's a lot of information on your screen, but what you need to know is that with this comp, this 5 damage percentage won out with my current stats. So with my current 80% Hugo, which is not ideal, so I also did 100% crit rate as well. But as you can see, damage 2-piece with 4-piece Woodpecker, damage percentage slot 5 won out, and the worst performing one was crit damage 2-piece with this 5 pen ratio. And that's because, of course, Trigger has in her Wenjin defense shred, defense reduce. It's the same thing, but with 100% crit rate on my Hugo, then crit damage 2-piece won overall. Now the difference between crit damage 2-piece versus damage 2-piece, attack percentage 2-piece, it's so little. And what's going to be the best is going to depend on the Deadly Assault buff. Anyways, what you need to know is this 5 damage percentage 1. Now, Woodpecker 4-piece is not really easy to maintain. So for those that want to do 2-piece, 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 I also did the calculations because we have concluded that this 5 damage percentage is the winner in this comp. For the 2-piece, 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 we used all this 5 damage percentage, and we know that pen ratio is not going to be good here with Trigger's Wenjin, so I excluded that and I kept crit in there because crit is just way too good. Damage 2-piece, crit damage 2-piece, crit 2-piece 1 at 80% crit, and with 100% crit rate it still won as well. But once again, the difference is not that big as long as you have this 5 damage percentage. What you do with the 2-piece, 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 or what you do with the 4-piece Woodpecker and the 2-piece doesn't really matter. So the notes are saying the same thing. The difference of 2-piece doesn't matter since Deadly Assault buffs can change. Isn't that big. Just use the best rolled discs. Only thing that matters slightly is slot 5, which is also affected by changing Deadly Assault buffs. As you guys see, Hugo's damage is going to ramp up. So the next team, I'm not gonna say M0R1 every time. Okay, so we got Hugo, Astra, and Lighter. This 5 pen ratio won overall. pen ratio, this 5 with pen ratio 2-piece had the highest ceiling at 80% crit rate with my current stats and at 100% crit rate versus this 5 damage and 2-piece damage, ice damage. So that was the weakest performing here. And it was 3.41% weaker. And I tried all the different combinations, damage 2-piece, crit damage 2-piece, but I kept the crit in there because you want to be as close to 100% crit. We'll talk about why later for those that do not know. And you guys see all the different numbers here in order at 80% crit. However, at 100% crit, we have pen ratio 2-piece, crit damage 2-piece, crit 2-piece. And once again, the difference is not that big of a deal. If the next Deadly Assault, the buff that you pick, gives crit damage instead of damage, then it's not going to be the best. But what you need to know with the 2-piece is that crit 2-piece and pen ratio 2-piece is really good. Damage, crit damage, and attack depends on pretty much the Deadly Assault buffs. I mean, all of them pretty much do. At the end of the day, once again, it is all about the substats. The most important takeaway here is if you're going to run this comp, you're gonna go with this 5 pen ratio. Next team is Hugo, Trigger, and Lighter. You see that? It's ramping up. The damage is ramping up. And for this one, this 5 attack percentage was leading the charge with 80% crit as well as at 100% crit, as you can see here, with Woodpecker 4-piece and crit damage 2-piece. And if you look at the averages of this 5 pen ratio and the average of damage percent versus attack percentage is not that far behind, but attack percentage is usually winning in all criterias. And the difference between the highest and the lowest is 3.7%. And the 2-piece, the one that won out was damage 2-piece, crit damage 2-piece, crit 2-piece. And with 100% crit rate, damage 2-piece, crit damage 2-piece, crit rate 2-piece won out as well. So these 3 teams, pretty much, we have clear winners. Now we're gonna get to the crazy part. Hugo, Lycone, and Lighter. As for Lycone and Lighter, I used Protopunk. I didn't use the Swing Jazz 4-piece. What I used instead was the Impact 4-piece, but if you want to use Swing Jazz or Astral Voice, then you will get a bigger totalize. So for now, out of all the teams that I tested, this was the best performing one at M0R1. It's completely different later on, and the numbers back it up. There's no clear winner of this 5. It really depends on the Deadly Assault buffs as well as your substats. But if I had to pick 2, it is pen ratio and attack percentage. Pen ratio 2-piece with pen ratio this 5 won out. But at 100% crit rate, attack percentage this 5 won out with crit damage 2-piece. Attack percentage 2-piece with this 5 pen ratio can win out at 100% crit rate. And that has to do with Deadly Assault buff, because Deadly Assault buff, they do give a lot of crit damage. At 80% crit rate, it was 3rd place. So the number 1 with 100% crit rate can get diminishing returns. Now, the pen ratio 2-piece with pen ratio this 5 did pretty well as well. And it's a safe choice because Deadly Assault buffs always give like attack percentage or crit damage. So yeah, pen ratio 2-piece with this 5 pen is also very, very good. But once again, the difference between this 5 pen ratio and attack percentage and the 2-piece is not that big of a deal. You just want to pretty much avoid this 5 damage percentage with damage 2-piece. It is 2% behind. 2-piece can be attack percentage, crit damage, pen ratio. And lastly, damage percentage. Once again, depending on the Deadly Assault buffs and substats. Now, if you look down here, I removed the 20% attack buff from the current Deadly Assault because what I'm trying to do with my Hugo is remove some of the attack percentage, substats on my discs and try to get more crit to get that 100% crit rate. So I wanted to see if I dropped attack percentage on my substats, what would happen on my journey to the 100% crit rate as I sacrificed the attack percentage. And what I found out was that pen won out. Pen this 5 with 2-piece pen. And that is why I said earlier that pen is pretty much the safest choice. Now, with all that said, what is the gear conclusion? Ice damage bonus is best in slot for the worst performing team for Hugo at M0R1, as you saw from today's samples. When I say attack percentage or pen ratio is low, does not mean the performance is low. It means that a lot of people are not using that on their slot 5. Pen ratio on average fits more teams. Attack percentage is great while you push for 100% crit through substats, because you got to sacrifice either crit damage or attack percentage as you get close to that 100% crit rate. What about Hormone Punk? Same thing applies. The only thing is that you want to get as close to 100% crit as possible. So I'm going to be using 2-piece woodpecker. If you're already over 100% crit rate at M0R1, then you could check the previous parts of the video. Now, with that information, what should you do? First, decide on your preferred Hugo's team to have an idea on what to gear. Let me move my camera. For Astra Trigger, there is a clear winner. Slot 5 damage percentage is better than attack percentage, better than pen ratio in the averages. 2-piece clear winner depends on deadly assault buffs. For Astra Lighter, there is a clear winner, slot 5 pen ratio. Next is attack percentage and damage percentage in averages. Okay, so we're done with part 1. Hopefully you found that helpful. I promised you guys this project for a while, and I'll be using this format from now on for every agent that releases, as well as the previous ones. And here it is. Hugo pull value. Horizontal, vertical, longevity, and roll. Horizontal means how many teams can he spread to. We're not talking about viable, forcing it. We're talking about like at least tier 1 performing meta comps. Vertical means the value of investing into him vertically. So we're talking about Mindscapes as well as improving his Wenjin. And the thing about this vertical meter is that if you invest vertically into him, it spills into other sections, as I'll explain. Like if you go all the way to M6, he becomes way more horizontal. And it's also talking about his max potential in terms of damage in a 3-minute fight. Well, it's not gonna last 3 minutes at M6. And the vertical meter also spills into his longevity. It changes his role. So what is his role? His role is burst 3 stun windows. And the longevity is talking about how long he's gonna last. Now, the reason why the longevity meter is not that high, 3.5, is because his role is not really needed. And I forgot to mention this, but this has to do with like shield defense, deadly assault. That's where most of the weight is. And of course, a little bit of like everyday activity, events, combat events, and stuff like that. Going back to his role, bursting during stun window, I mean, other agents can do that. It's nothing like game defining. He definitely does a good job at it, especially at M6, but we're talking about even at M0, he does a good job at it if you crit. If you don't crit, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you gotta restart. You gotta restart the freaking deadly assault. But anyways, yeah, he does a good job. However, it's just not a job that we really need in current endgame in ZZZ. His M2 is good, and I could link you calculations. You could link me calculations where it's like, oh, his M2 is like 60 or 80, 70%. That's great, but he's doing the same thing. What happens at M6 is it completely changes him. We'll get to that part. I have a dedicated slide about that. Now, I didn't do a Vivian video because I was too busy looking at her. For Vivian's horizontal value is 5.5. And yes, I know there are more attackers than anomaly characters, but we're not talking about all attackers and all anomaly characters. We're talking about the ones that are performing at least at tier 1 and above. Vertically M2, she just does her role better, but at M6, it's just crazy. She could be hyper carry, she could be a burster. And for those that are curious, this is for Miyabi. I was gonna give her 7.5 in horizontal, but I gave her an 8 because when I'm on the rush, or when I don't really have time, or when I'm playing ZZZ on the phone while commuting somewhere, I just get Miyabi out for anything. Shiyu, Deadly, any combat events where it's about to expire in an hour, or any like cumbersome dailies, just get that freaking Miyabi out. M2 value is really good. Some of the afterthoughts. Okay, that's terrible. Gearing is not easy, different sets and stats for different teams. Playing Hugo is super smooth and easy, especially quick swap playstyle if you like that. My favorite in the game so far, stun window equals one of the most stress-free agents at M0 unless you don't crit. In the entire game, M6 is different story. Mindscapes shouldn't exist this way. Hopefully Yishwen doesn't do this, man. Hugo should have had full M6 toolkit at M0 or M2 at the latest. Mindscapes make him way less strict agent in terms of gearing because he gets crit from his Mindscapes. Team building, playstyle, role, longevity, day-to-day activity, etc. Unlike Evelyn, Miyabi, Sambi, Hugo is too backloaded at M6. What the fuck with 1.7, man? Vivian the same, man. It unlocks playstyle change at M6. Quality of life, near perma buffs, and way more quick swap friendly and on-field friendly at M6. Sambi, Evelyn, M6 is just more damage that you actually have to record and watch your clip to even notice what's going on. It's not a playstyle change whatsoever. Remember what I said at the beginning of the video? A lot of female viewers watched my Hugo video. So my crazy theory is that they want girl gamers to hoard and save or swipe for dude agents since they aren't frequent. Does Hoyo think that dude lovers will save and go all the way to M6? M6 is way too loaded. It's not just numerically, once again, it's not numerically strong. That's what like written guides don't really express. At M6, he becomes way more versatile in terms of teammates. You can go into the charge shot to get the buff. I don't want to go too much into it because not a lot of M6 owners, but M6 is way too loaded, and before that doesn't feel like a whole and complete agent. I'm happy for you guys, and congrats if you're having fun at M0. I am too. I definitely am. Like I said, he's my favorite character right now in terms of playstyle. But what I'm trying to say, I'm on your side. Like what I'm trying to say is that if Hoyo didn't backload this fun playstyle all the way at M6 and put it more towards like M1 or 2, you know, the Hugo mains would be gooning every 0.1 second. Continuing with Hugo's review, at M0 can free up Astra for Evelyn or whoever. Want to play more M0 Hugo on field without paying for M6? You could pretend like an M6 Hugo with Astra. Quick assist helping you just press basic attack for charge shots, increase Daze contribution, and X special for more Daze contribution. But with 2 stunners, you drop this act. So you don't want to really swap into M0 Hugo with 2 stunners and do the charge shot, even though there is more Daze contribution if you go into the stat page. He finds little use for his Dark Abyss Concerto mechanic, as these attacks are mostly relegated to rotation extensions that only get used out of necessity to do something productive with your field time. I agree with this. This is from Prywin. Now, you may be thinking, what the fuck does that even mean? Basically, with 2 stunners, you don't want to quick assist into Hugo and do his charge shot. That's pretty much what they're talking about. Hold his basic attack for the extra charge shot damage and extra Daze contribution, because your stunner can contribute more towards the Daze. The quick assist into Hugo and then holding his basic attack to do his charge shot is so cool. I love it. It's so smooth. It's so nice. He also gets damage reduced from that. There's the extra Daze contribution, but at M0, with 2 different stunners, like I said, it's not that practical, which equals Sag. So what you're seeing on your screen exists for people that want to play Hugo more on field, right? Instead of just banking him to the side and bringing him out only during stun window. So that is my honest review for Hugo. Hopefully this video was helpful. Hopefully you watched the full thing. If you like this kind of content, make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe. I'll be doing more of these going forward. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.